Welcome to the Dadventures Podcast. Most dads know they should lead their family but don't feel qualified. At the Dadventures, we provide dads with tools and training so they can confidently lead their family to journey with Jesus. I'm your host, Michael Parks. And today we're going to be talking about how to get your kids to follow Jesus. Now, I know it's been a little bit since I was able to put out a new episode of the Dadventures Podcast. Back in January, I was out of town for about a week, and I came home sick. And I got well, just well enough to do a couple of speaking engagements about a week later, then got sick again, pretty much right after that. After about a week or so of not getting any better, finally went to urgent care where I was diagnosed with pneumonia. Fun times. And actually all 6 of us in our family, everybody's been sick at least once in the last month. And my wife, the next day ended up with a double ear infection and a burst eardrum. My oldest son, also double ear infection, daughter flu. I mean, it's just been kind of crazy. And I know, like, if you've got, multiple kids, especially when you start getting 3, 4 more kids, I mean, sickness just seems to linger in a household. But in the midst of all this, my mom, she's also had a bit of a health scare. And some of you guys that know me, you know a little bit about this. But for several weeks, we've been trying to find answers to what's going on. And she ended up in the hospital for several days last week while I had pneumonia. As they're just trying to figure out what exactly is going on. We've been waiting and waiting and waiting, trying to figure out what's going on. We're looking for an answer. And after all this, we still don't have a definitive answer, but we are at least making progress. So if you could add my mom to your prayers, if you haven't already, we would greatly appreciate that. And we are just so thankful that we are actually finally making progress, even if we don't have all the answers. But in all of this, no matter what, we're trying to trust God, even when we don't have the answers, especially when we don't have the answers. But I'm also thankful that I finally have enough of my energy and voice back to be able to record this podcast episode. You can probably tell I'm still not 100%. So please excuse my voice, the raspiness. Excuse me if I start coughing. But we're going to get through this. We're going to get through this, and it's going to be great. And I am just so excited to finally be back here in the recording studio to be able to share with you guys. So I know we're a little bit behind, but this month our theme has been love. Now, I know we start talking about love, that can make some guys a little bit, feel a little bit awkward. But the reality is that we cannot be good dads without love. And we cannot be disciples, absolutely cannot be disciples of Jesus without love. It's impossible. It's what Jesus says are the 2 greatest commandments in all of Scripture. Love God with your entire being and love people as well as you love yourself. So love is central to walking with Jesus. And love is central to being the dad that you need to be. And if we're going to do those well, we need to learn to love well. And we need to show our kids how to do the same. So love is our theme. That's what we're going to be talking about. And our verse of the month, where that theme comes from, is Ephesians chapter 5, verse 2. And this verse is going to be at the heart of today's episode. So I want to take a look at that verse, but we're actually going to back up and read verse 1 as well. Ephesians chapter 5, verses 1 and 2 from the New International Version. Follow God's example, therefore, as dearly loved children. And verse 2, and walk in the way of love, just as Christ loved us and gave himself up for us as a fragrant offering and sacrifice to God. Paul says to follow God's example. We, as a dad, we're still children. And most importantly, we're children of our Heavenly Father. And our job is to follow the example of our Father in heaven. Follow God's example. And what is that? Walk in the way of love. And he says, just as Christ did, he set the example. And what did that look like? He gave himself up as a fragrant offering and sacrifice to God. Now, here's the thing. He did not just sacrifice his, give his death. He didn't just, die for us, but he also lived for us. Everything about his life leading up to that point was to help point us to the Father. His entire life was focused on love for God and love for us. And that culminated with that sacrificial death on the cross, everything he went through. And Paul says, that's your example. That's what it looks like to walk in love. Not just to be willing to die for your kids, to die for your wife, to die for your family, to die for others, but to live for them as well. Walk in the way of love. And as dads, that's our primary purpose, is to walk in the way of love. And then as dads, to get our kids, to show them how to do this. Now, this reminds me of a few years ago, we were hiking. We always, several years ago, we started this tradition of after Christmas, between Christmas and New Year's, going on a hike outdoors. And that can be a little tricky. We're in Missouri, and sometimes we have beautiful weather around Christmas, and other times it's not that great. This was one of those times. It had been, we'd gotten some snow before Christmas, and so we're on this hike, and everything's going well until we get to this one spot where you got to hike down into a little valley, and down at the bottom of this little valley, this little ravine, there's a creek that you've got to cross. And usually, especially in the winter, there's not that much water there. It's a pretty easy crossing. But as we start making our way down this hill, the last 20 to 30 yards, it is just straight mud. It is just a mud slide down into the creek that has ice, and it's freezing cold. And even within the mud, there are some icy and snow patches. This is not going to be easy, because we still have to drive home about an hour, and we're going to go eat pizza after this, and we cannot be just covered in mud and water, and we don't want to get soaking wet while it's, it's still probably about 35, 40 degrees outside. So it's not going to be good. And we still got, at least another mile to hike after this. So little kids especially, this is looking a little treacherous. And we don't want to turn back, because that's going to be even farther. So how do we make our way through? Well, that falls on Dad, right? Like that's my job. Like, I got to figure out, okay, how are we going to do this? So I say, all right, let's just pause. Let's analyze the situation, see what we can do. And I realize, hey, if we go off the path, it kind of goes up the hill a little bit. It's not as muddy. There's a lot more leaves. There's some branches and different things. So I start going up there, and I start, grabbing logs and branches and rocks, anything I can find. And I start building basically a little footpath through the mud and the snow and the ice. And I start building that, and we get our, get all the way down to the water. And then once I get to the water, I grab some bigger stones, and I'm putting them in the water to make some little stepping stones to get ourselves across this mess, right? So get that built, and then I get my family, and I say, all right, follow me. Watch where I step, and do the same thing. And so we start doing that, because it's not perfect, it's not great, but it's the best that we can do with what we have. And so one at a time, I go, and then one of my kids behind me, and I am showing them where to step. And so I'm constantly, switching my eyes back and forth between where I'm going and what my family is doing, so I can see, and help them to make sure that they are following this same path. So I'm looking ahead, and I'm looking back, and I'm, okay, I'm going to step here. All right, now hey, step right here. And I'm pointing out exactly where they need to step. And we make our way down to the water. And once we get to the water, then I've got to kind of a spot where I can kind of get off to the side, but I'm still kind of straddling the water there, but I can help them, give them a steady hand to get across. We get everybody across, get myself over the water, and now it's kind of smooth sailing from this point out. Sorry to mix metaphors there. My wife, English teacher of 20 years, is not going to like that. But now it's going to be a lot easier because we're out of the mud, we're out of the water, we're out of the ice, and it's going to be a lot easier journey back to our car. Where, hey, once we get there, then we get to go celebrate and eat pizza, right? Because, hey, I mean, who doesn't? I mean, that's just a great way to end a hike, right? So we finally, get through there, and we don't have mud on us. We're not soaking wet. I mean, it is a victory. This is a success, and we get to celebrate with pizza at the end. And this is one of the many reasons why I love hiking with my family, and not just the pizza, right? I mean, that is a great reason to go hiking. But no, I love hiking with my family because it's basically it's a microcosm of life. It's just a little glimpse into what life is like. And it provides these opportunities to kind of show our family, show our kids, and a reminder for myself of what following Jesus, what going on an adventure and walking the path, walking by faith looks like. And as we talk about walking by faith this year and walking in the way of love, this reminds me of how what we need to do as parents, because God has tasked us with teaching our children how to walk by faith, how to walk in love, how to follow Jesus, right? We've mentioned this verse quite a bit, but Ephesians chapter 6, verse 4, fathers, do not exasperate your children. Instead, bring them up in the training and instruction of the Lord. All right? That is our job as dads. We cannot shirk this responsibility. We cannot say, well, mom can take care of that. Yes, mom needs to be doing that as well, but this is directly addressed to fathers. It doesn't just say parents. It says fathers. Now, moms are supposed to be doing this too. So moms, you're not off the hook. But dads, we cannot say it's not my responsibility or it's okay if mom takes care of it. No, we both need to be doing this. We need to be bringing our kids up in the training and instruction of the Lord. But there are a couple of mistakes that I see, wrong approaches, and at times, I've been guilty of these as well. There's some temptations that are pretty big for moms and dads, and here they are. So first, I think the biggest temptation for parents, and I think especially for dads, this is one of the biggest ones, but I think especially for dads, this is a really big temptation, is to just tell our kids what to do, even if we aren't doing it ourselves. Right? Like in that situation on that hike, like if I had just stood back and said, hey, I'm going to tell you what to do. All right. Get the stick, put it there. Get the rock, put it there. Right. Like that's probably not going to be very effective, at least not early on. I've got to show them how to do this first. They've never done this before. This is a new experience for them. Now, as my kids get older and they've seen dad do that a few times, now maybe I can say, hey, you've seen dad do this. All right, I'll help walk you through this. I'm going to tell you what to do, but you've seen dad do this before. But if I start off that way, if I never show my kids how it's done, if they don't see dad living out his faith, they just hear dad saying, hey, you shouldn't do that, or hey, that's not okay, but dad's not living that life, that's a problem. That is a big problem. And what that is going to do to our kids is, at the very least, it's going to just be confusing. But what ends up happening more often than not is if our kids see, well, dad doesn't care about this, then why should I care about it? But, he's just a hypocrite. Because who is he to tell me what to do when he's not doing that? And we're going to end up leading our kids down a wrong path, a path that we don't want to lead them, because we're not actually leading them. We're not leading them down the path of Jesus. We might be trying to tell them to go that way. We might be trying to dictate that they go that way. We might be trying to punish them if they don't go that way. But if I'm not actually on that path, leading them and showing them where to step, what to do, then we've got a problem. Our kids aren't going to follow us down that path. They're going to follow us down the path we're actually walking, which doesn't lead to Jesus. So don't just tell your kids what to do. Show them how to do it. Live it out. And then the second big temptation for parents, and I think this is one that I think is bigger for moms. Now, moms and dads can do both of these. I myself have been guilty of doing both of these, falling prey to both of these traps here. But I think this one is especially more of a temptation for moms, is to try to subtly show our kids what to do without really telling them that this is what they need to do, right? Like, hey, I'm gonna clean up the living room because I want my kids to clean up the living room, but I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna hope that they're gonna see that mom does that so then they should do that. Or I'm gonna do the dishes, or I'm gonna pick up their clothes, I'm gonna do their laundry, and then what happens? Do our kids do it? No. It doesn't actually usually end up working. And what happens is, if this is mom or dad that's doing this, then we get frustrated because I'm doing all this work. Why are you not doing any work? Well, did we tell our kids to do it? Did we invite them into and say, hey, help me with the laundry, help me with the dishes, help me with the yard? So if we're not actually telling our kids that this is what they need to be doing, and we're not inviting them into it, they're not going to get the clue. They're not going to get the hint. Okay. I mean, it would be great if they did, but guys, let's be honest. I mean, even adults aren't that perceptive and that smart. What ends up happening is you create entitled, spoiled kids that think that this should just be done for me. Like, my laundry should just be done for me. My food should just appear on my plate. I shouldn't have to work for any of this. And then mom, dad get frustrated. Kids are entitled, and they're not going down the path we want them to go. All right. So what do we need to do? Third option is the way of Jesus, is to invite our kids to walk with us as we follow Jesus, to invite them into this way of love, to walk in the way of love, not just tell them what to do, not just show them what to do, but invite them into it, showing and telling them at the same time. This is what we do. This is who we are. We walk with Jesus. We walk in the way of love. So, we've got try to get ahead of the game here a little bit, but Mother's Day is going to be coming up in a couple of months, right? So, as dads, you want to do something nice for your wife, and you want to get your kids to do something nice for your wife. Now, you could tell your kids, hey, you should do something for mom. Are they going to do it? Especially if they're younger, probably not. They don't know what that means. They don't know what that looks like. Now, you could try to do something nice for your wife. And like, hey, I know mom, my wife would love it if the house were picked up, if the house were cleaned, the bathroom's clean and scrubbed, the toilets, all these things. She would love that. But if you just on a Saturday start doing that, expecting your kids to just jump in and start helping, it ain't going to happen, all right? If they do, then you have trained them well. But I guarantee you that didn't happen because that's what you do. You start cleaning and they start coming. No, you've shown them what to do. And that's what we need to do. Say, hey, guys, Mother's Day's coming up. Let's do something special for mom. And you could even brainstorm and ask them, hey, what do you think mom would love? And they may have some ideas, and some of them might be great or they might not. But you can say, hey, I know Mom would really love it if the house were cleaned and she didn't have to do it. Let's do that, okay? And they see Dad in there vacuuming, scrubbing the toilets, cleaning the shower, they're going to see that this is important, that this is how it's done. And Dad is inviting me, and he's actually giving me some responsibility and trusting that I can do this. Hey, can you go dust the living room? Hey, can you vacuum your bedroom floor? Hey, can you unload the dishwasher? All right. Now they're getting that responsibility. They're feeling like they're a part of this, and they're not only being told what to do, they're seeing how it's done, and they're seeing you, Dad, love their mom, to love your wife, and they're seeing what love actually looks like. And they're not just witnessing it from afar, they are witnessing it up close because they are invited into that, and they get to be part of that. So invite your kids to walk the walk, to walk in the way of love, to walk by faith, and show them what it looks like to follow Jesus. Invite them on the journey, show them how exciting it is, and give them some responsibility. They don't have to do it perfectly, because I don't do it perfectly. You don't do it perfectly, and that's okay. But invite them into the journey. Thank you guys for joining me on this journey of adventurous faith and fatherhood. Dads, you are making a difference in your family by pointing them to Jesus. Keep showing them the way. Keep inviting them into this adventure with Jesus, inviting them to walk in the way of love, setting the example, but also bringing them into the adventure on this journey with Jesus. I'll be back soon as we move into the month of March. Just to give you a heads up, because that's coming up really soon. Our Dadventures theme for March is new creation. And that comes from our verse, 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 17 from the NIV. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come, the old is gone, the new is here. And that's going to be coming up real soon. So just to give you a heads up, that's a great verse. That's one of my favorite verses. It's a great reminder of who we are. We're not dwelling in our past. We're not bound by our past decisions, but we have been made new in Christ. All right, so we're going to be talking about that coming up really soon. Guys, I mentioned at the beginning of the show that I had a couple of speaking engagements a few weeks ago. And I absolutely love getting to speak to churches and men's groups and students and at retreats and conferences. So if your church or ministry group needs a speaker, send me an email, michael@dadventures.com with the date, location, info about your event. I love to get to go in, not just speak to or speak at a group of people, but to really get to know the group, get to know the church, get to know the men, get to know the students, get to know the people, hear stories, not just me talking at people, but getting to form a relationship that is ongoing with your group. So send me an email, michael@thedadventures.com, again with the date, location, info about your event, and I will get right back to you. All right, dads, go have a dadventure with your family. We'll see you soon.